Okay, motion's been made. Motion's been made to call the meeting to order. All in favor of that?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, I am going to call this May 23rd session of the Holyoke City Council to order. This, as you know, is a special meeting that's been called by myself as president of the council to address two items. I'm going to now take the attendance to record those members present. When your name is called, please just state if you're here. Councilor Bartley? Here. Councilor Bresnahan? Councilor Graney?
Here.
Councilor Jordan is here. Councilor Leahy?
Present.
Councilor LeBron Martinez? Councilor Lisi? Councilor Lopez? Here. Councilor McGee? Councilor McGivern? Here. Councilor Roman? Councilor Sullivan?
Here.
Councilor Tallman?
Here.
Councilor Vacan?
Here.
Councilor Valentin. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
And the city of Holyoke, as well as the great city council.
And the Celtics. Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, good councilors. I promise I think this is going to be extremely quick. We have two items. First up, I will read to you is item number 1. Ordered that this treasurer is authorized to file an application to qualify any and all of the bonds or notes authorized by the council on or before the date hereof under Chapter 44A of the general laws, and to provide such information and execute such documents as may be required for such purposes. It is signed off by the mayor and filed with us for adoption.
Motion to authorize?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive and adopt, approving this following order. That's on the floor just briefly under discussion. I'm not sure why the city treasurer is not here, but if you'll recall at the last meeting, there was a communication from the state that said they had 2 items that needed to be adopted. And I believe I did ask a question that said, I only see 1 here in the packet. But she assured us at that time that, well, I guess we only needed 1. Apparently, after further review, they did in fact need both. Here's the second of the 2. And therefore, that's why this needs to be adopted. Apparently, this is needed as some language in order for them to apply for certain additional bonds, as well as I believe they're doing some refinancing of various things, and they needed this specific language authorized. Mm-hmm. That's as much as I know. Any other questions, thoughts? Councilor McGivern.
Copy of the language available?
It is. It's that one paragraph I read to you, which appears on the, should be appearing on your meeting notice. That's the extent of it.
If you read it, I'm fine, Mr. President, but
Okay.
It didn't make the notice.
It didn't make it on the agenda?
Item 1, ordered.
Order, yeah, it's on the agenda.
Ordered. That's the one paragraph.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, Councilor Roman has joined us. So we're up to 11. We appreciate it. In fairness, I know Councilor Bresnahan reached out. He could not be here until later. And Councilor Valentin had a prior engagement. She also reached out and was unable to attend. So in fairness to them. So any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the roll. Roll call is on adoption of that language. For simplicity's sake, I'm simply going to go down alphabetically, okay? So a yes vote is in favor of adopting this language, and no vote is to deny it. Councilor Bartley?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Graney?
Yes.
Councilor Jordan votes yes. Councilor Leahy?
Yes.
Councilor Lisi?
Yes.
Councilor Lopez? Yes. Councilor McGivern?
Yes.
Councilor Roman?
Yes.
Councilor Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilor Tallman?
Yes.
Councilor Vacan?
Yes.
By your vote, you have adopted item number 1. And that is all set. We now go to item number 2. Item number 2 is an order regarding a moratorium on recreational marijuana. A motion, let me read it. Order that the City of Hoyoke pass a moratorium on the approval of any recreational marijuana retailers, growers, or distributors. Moratorium would expire on December 31st, 2018, introduced by Councilors Roman and Jordan. The legal language is attached. A motion to send to ordinance and a copy to the planning board would be in order.
So moved.
So motion's been made and seconded. Just briefly under discussion, as you know, we adopted this at our last meeting upon some additional review by the law department. They were of the opinion, just to be safe, that there should be a public hearing of the ordinance committee and that planning should also hold one and make a recommendation for or against it, since this does have to do with zoning. So just to make that precautionary note, we would like to make sure we follow those steps. Councilor Lisi.
Thank you. I just heard from State Representative Aaron Vega, who's chairing the Recreational Marijuana Committee, that the state regs are due out within the next month.
Okay.
And I think that the language that we were interested in passing in the moratorium said until 2018, or if the state passes state legislation.
No, what ours says is December 2018, or we pass an ordinance.
Yes.
But we want their state. We're going to need their state regulations before we pass an ordinance. But if we pass an ordinance, say 6 months from now, then the moratorium would be over 6 months from now.
Sure.
Which is certainly my hope, if we can do it.
Well, I wanted to just make the point that because it seems that we're going to have the state guidance within the next month, it takes 2 weeks to notice a public hearing. I filed an order for next meeting to just initiate the public hearing process on creating the zoning bylaws.
Okay, great.
So I don't know if we need to go through, I mean, it seems like we're going to take a lot of time, or just the same amount of time to pass a moratorium as we would to create the zoning bylaws. And if we could get them in, or be poised, considering we do have the link to the chair of the committee, if we could be poised to pass the zoning bylaws immediately after the state passes their state legislation, that would make sure that there's no delay in licensure. And again, it's going to take at least 2 weeks to notice the moratorium and then go through the public hearing process. I'd rather us use the time to notice the public hearing on the bylaws and use that time to craft the bylaws before the state legislation is finalized.
Well, I assure you it's going to take us some time to pass the legislation related to this item. I doubt that we're just going to snap our fingers at one meeting and that's all going to be done. I believe we should take a walk and chew gum approach and do both. I think we should pass the moratorium. It has the automatic revocation provision in it, so that, and I am with you. I want to pass the zoning ordinance changes as quickly as humanly possible. I'm looking ideally as soon as we possibly can. But let's be clear. We're going to need to get them to pass the laws. We're going to need them to then have advisories that come out afterwards. What are other communities doing? There's going to be a lot of information that comes out of this, and then we're going to need probably after they pass the law, we're going to need either DPH or the state treasurer's office or whoever's going to be issuing the regulations related to the new law. All of that is probably going to be helpful to us before, and I'm not sure they're going to lift their moratorium anyways until July of 2018, in light of all of that. So I think we want to just make sure that we don't get caught with a gap here where somebody tries to apply for something. There's already somebody circulating an email, which is rather terse, talking about he personally wants to make $5 million, and, on something that we don't even have a law on, and is sort of like, what are we talking about? We want to pass a law. So I just want to make sure everybody understands we're going to do a thorough, methodical process and have a good law, just like we did on medical marijuana. That process worked. I think we should repeat it.
But I do want to stress, since you're rebutting my point,
Yep.
I do want to stress the fact that it would remove us from qualifying for any licensures to be granted for after the state moratorium is lifted. if we have a local moratorium that's going to preclude us from having the state accept licenses for the city of Holyoke before the moratorium at the state level is lifted.
Okay.
Mr. President, point of order.
We'll get, that was her point. I have no information to say that's true or false at this point. Maybe others do. Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, thank you. How is the great, wonderful city of Holyoke going to deal with the conflict of law where it's against the law for recreational marijuana in the federal government, and yet the state has approved it?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're going to have to find that out. That's a tremendous question. Because I'm hearing that federal authorities are turning somewhat of a tolerant view towards medical marijuana, but not on recreational marijuana. It's another one of these legal questions we need to ask in committee and get an intelligent answer to. Is that the end, Councilor?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Roman.
Yes, and to my colleagues and to the public, I received a phone call before coming here today that somehow our moratorium is infringing on an individual's personal rights to grow, to have marijuana on them. The law is passed, and then nowhere in our moratorium does it say anything about a person or individual not being able to fulfill their guaranteed right under Massachusetts general law to have or possess marijuana. I got that call today. Oh, you're going to infringe. But as one of the ward counselors who was a recipient of that email that is saying that by the end of this year, by December, this company will be growing for recreational purposes. And I applaud this body, this was done before my time, for putting in strict regulations around licensures, around the zoning process, because then we were able to have those conversations as a community. And I asked this business, have you gone and talked to the neighborhood associations? Have you gone and talked to the residents of South Holyoke or the Flats? You're going to be growing for recreational purposes and making $5 million plus a year. Where are you hiring? What are you doing? How is that a process? I too have filed for next meeting in order to, again, have that conversation. If 6 months back in July, I did look at other municipalities. So East Hampton, West Springfield, and Springfield have adjusted theirs to July of 2018. I think that's maybe appropriate if the state does in fact come out with theirs. But we can have this debate and conversation in committee. I still want to know, and again, whether it's a licensure coming in or not, unless we've done our due diligence and we have those laws on the books. And I'm pro-pot. I'm the guy who smoked it this weekend. I don't care. I say that all the time. I admit that because the public needs to know. I do it for my HIV status, for my pain. But I also don't want these companies to just come in, and if there's manufacturing to have with these jobs, are these jobs going to local Holyokers, and what is the direct benefit and impact of our constituents? And it's not the first company that has approached me. There's another growing co-op facility that wants to come on Main Street in South Holyoke, and I want to explore the zoning laws. When we're going to do this recreational zoning laws, I don't want it to just be IG, because then it gets limited to just South Holyoke and the Flats and all of Route 5. So I would like to have these discussions in committee. I like the moratorium. I do want to follow the law, so if it has to go to planning and have that public debate, but I do not, we can address the timeline, I think, but I still want to give us ample time to debate that. And you know there's over 20 ordinances, or plus, in committee, including our revenue stream. How much are we going to see as a city from these recreational companies? So with that, I'll yield back. Thank you, Mr. President.
And to your point, I mean, it took us a long time. I mean, I'll defer to Linda, but, you know, how long did it take us to craft the medical marijuana law? I mean,
that was while I was chair, and it was
okay, all right.
probably about 4 months.
4 months, okay. So,
On the motion.
I don't know. Did anybody else want to say anything? So the motion on the floor is to send the ordinance and sending a copy over to planning so that they can begin their process. Okay, hearing no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been made and seconded to adjourn. Just before we do that, I did want to, since I have at least a good amount of you in the room, I wanted to give you a heads up on the budget calendar coming up. You'll be getting an email from me, but you may want to take a jot down of some of these.
The ordinance committee is going to meet, so we're not ready to go yet.
Okay. Next Wednesday, May 31st, 6:30, is going to be the mayor, the auditor, treasurer, tax collector, and assessors.
May 30th, did you say?
May 31st, Wednesday, May 31st, 6:30. So you'll be getting an email relative to all of this, or email, or regular hard mail. But I wanted to give you some of these dates. June 5th, I believe that's a Monday, police and fire.
Kevin,
Yes, sir.
we have a DGR scheduled on that date. I asked Ryan
Do
to
you?
post that, yeah. I mean, we set that 3 weeks ago at least.
All right, I'll see what I can do. I have some other availability, so June 8th was going to be the DPW, but June 8th will definitely be a budget hearing. If I have to push back because of your June 5th, I'll go with police and fire likely on the 8th. Then the 12th is going to be the school department. I have June 14th for another set of hearings. That's going to be probably a catch-all or is going to be maybe one of these other departments. I might push the DPW back to the 14th of June. Or I'll push police and fire back, one of them to June 14th. Yes. Yeah.
Are we getting a the school department budget?
You're going to get what you're going to get is two documents.
One single
You're gonna,
page?
okay.
One
You're-
single page?
Huh?
One piece of paper like this?
You will get that. That's in the budget. That's technically what you vote on, by the way. The state law hasn't changed on that. However, you will also get what I've requested is the breakdown of the net school spending calculation, which has been previously prepared by Chris Regan, and I've asked Mr. Soto will be requested to produce that document as well. That gives you the breakdown. Now, we're not going to go down to the school level detail like the school committee used to, but the big buckets of unemployment and school bus transportation and rents and Chapter 70 calculation and local contribution requirement, all of those, there's probably about 20 lines. We will go through detail that produces the one overall aggregated number. Yes, Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, well, thank you. But I had filed, and the rest, I think, of the Finance Committee, the actual budget. So we should have a copy in front of us. And Dr.
Yeah.
Streich said that he would and
Okay.
will make that available. So for any counselor that wants to see the most mundane line item, or mundane, I should say, that should be in front of us.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll let you to communicate that to Steve because I know you want it. I don't want to buffalo people and stand here and say like we vote on those individual lines because we only vote on the aggregated number and really, of course, it's a public document. Absolutely, I agree with you. Yeah. So lastly, June 21st and 22nd are the 2 days I have earmarked for voting. Those will be special meetings of the City Council, June 21st and June 22nd. So if we finish up, we'll start at 6:30 and we'll go as reasonably long as we can. If we are unable to finish that evening, that's a Wednesday, we will be back here on the 22nd. That's a Thursday night. And we'll just pick it up wherever we left off. So, but we've really got to finish it up by the 22nd because there's a number of conflicts in the next week after that. And we're down to the wire on our 45 days. So I think 2 nights of voting, worst comes to worst, should be plenty. So I wanted to give you that basic heads up of what to expect. Now that week of the 20th, 21st, 22nd will be a long week for us because we have a full council meeting on the 20th and then 21, 22. Okay. So any other questions on that? Hearing none. A motion on to adjourn is on the floor. So all in favor of that?
Aye, aye.
Opposed? So moved. We are adjourned. And now we'll have ordinance.